I really like games that involve building things. There's something immensely satisfying about it to me. I adore going through the process of forming some vision in my head, transforming it through the limitations of the medium, and then stepping back and looking at what I was able to do. I can't help but notice that the games that hold my attention the most have some aspect of building. The very best are the ones that are tied into a broader game that let me build a sort of base of operations from which I can explore the rest of the game. When I played Hearthfire for Skyrim, especially after modding it, it instantly became my favorite game at the time. I would almost always choose a Lakeview Manor to be my main home, and heading out on adventures in the world only to ride back into my estate, my party all riding our horses, is a special memory of mine that I can't help but cherish. So I have a bit of a soft spot for these types of games. Anytime I see one of these survival games with building elements, something just goes off in my brain and I have to try it. And the thing is, usually I don't have a shortage of ideas for these videos. I come up with them faster than I can make them. But I'm working on a bigger project right now and I wanted to put out another small video before that one. So when I saw Try, Primitive Builder, it felt like a shoo-in, a great, simple, straightforward review for the channel. It's a bit of an unknown game a little bit. There isn't a ton of chatter about it online, and it doesn't seem to have become some huge hit with audiences. That makes sense to me, it's kind of a low-key game. Try Primitive Builder is a survival game without much survival. You're a prodigy of a tribesman, a highly talented builder who can tie knots with vines and make standing structures, a valued skill in his tribal village. But as we're told in a shockingly well-acted cutscene, this builder slowly becomes haunted by visions of the tribe's doom, of gods who demand more of him.
So our village grew. The elders told me I had a gift, but the village was not enough. I was convinced that the gods expected more from me. Haunted by the vision of doom, I decided to build an altar that reached the sky. I thought that would appease them, but gods had different plans for me. They split the sky in two and consumed all my work.
Our builder is exiled from his tribe to be sent to the Exiles Island, a place for all the outcasts of the tribe. While he is at first distraught, over time he comes to believe that the gods meant for him to end up on this island.
It revealed itself to me. The gods wanted me to end up here.
You see, this island is formed by an actively erupting volcano at the southernmost tip of the island. Its anger is revered by the exiled tribesmen, even as it consumes them. 4 separate tribes of exiles live on the island, each in one quadrant, separated by mountains, and frankly, they are not doing well. While a crossroads of sorts exists in the middle of the mountain ranges, the route to each of their territories is severed in some way, bisected by a plume of lava, a collapsed tunnel, or an unclimbable cliffside. The river tribe is doing the best, able to feed themselves with the plentiful fish of the rivers in their territories. In contrast, the other tribes are in some stage of starvation. The sand tribe barely clings on to life, their villages and religious altars long destroyed. The jungle territory is devoid of edible life, with its hulking vegetation quickly overtaking any attempt to build any permanent shelter, much less take advantage of its farmable soil. Worst of all, the volcano tribe has it the hardest. The rivers of the first tribe are replaced with plumes of lava instead, burning the vegetation and animals, leaving absolutely no food for the tribesmen. Luckily for you, you wash up on the shores of the river tribe, a relatively hospitable area. Even better, you're quickly discovered by the tribesmen, who generously take you in if you agree to work and contribute. Of course, our builder quickly proves to be quite useful, able to put up structures with unprecedented speed. Building in Try Primitive Builder involves selecting a building from the menu, finding a place for it, and then delivering the materials for its construction. I've seen a few people online say that this system is, dare I say, primitive for a game with builder in the title, and I do think that's quite fair. It's probably the 3rd biggest problem with this game. There just isn't a ton of personal expression and creativity in this game. Everything is pre-made, and you simply watch the building come together as you deliver the resources it needs. On the other hand, it really helps that you can build almost anywhere in the world, giving each of your settlements some sense of identity and uniqueness based on what area you decided to settle down in. In this place, you'll build workshops to generate resources automatically, building up a few simple production chains, and eventually building up to the massive amounts of resources that you need for the endgame. You'll place down houses, increasing the total number of people that can be a part of your tribe, and by extension, the amount of labor you have access to. And finally, there's also a number of specialty buildings, like a personal house for you and a marketplace that will let you assign tribesmen to become traders, moving resources between the tribal territories. The overall effect of this system is that you slowly build up your settlements to become villages, all kinds of buildings built together and tribesmen shuffling about while completing their tasks. And for me, that kind of thing still totally scratches that building itch in my head. Returning from a trip out only to look upon my city at what I've slowly built up, it's very satisfying to me. I think that kind of reaction is very human. We're a very place-oriented species. Isn't there something super satisfying about coming back to your home after a long day or a long trip, with all the items you've curated and the stylistic and decor decisions you've made? But it's tough to not yearn for more granular control. One of the games I had the most fun building in was actually Fallout 4, even though I found the game itself to be, kind of dull. After modding the hell out of it, I spent the most time simply building up my settlements, totally transforming them into new cities and locations. The ability to build the interior of every building, those detailed options, were absolutely the best part of that building system. You don't get too far into building your first village when the Elder of the River Tribe asks you to perform a ritual at the altar, during which our builder is granted a vision. A great boat sails the sea, and the island is destroyed by the volcano, the Fire Mountain god. This vision is a big deal. The gods haven't spoken to anyone in the tribes for a long time, and it has quickly become clear that the builder is a special person, sent to liberate the exiled tribes. You know what's funny? Even though this opening cutscene is in English, the entire rest of the game is in some made-up tribal language. But even better, I'm pretty sure it's total gibberish, because they seem to have just taken the English words from the script, added some vowels between the letters, and then connected those words with some more gibberish. If you listen closely, you can pick up some of the words from the subtitles in the voice acting. They really recorded a whole game's worth of this gibberish. It's absolutely hilarious. It reminds me of how Far Cry Primal had hours and hours of expensive voice actors talking caveman for the cutscenes. The overall tone of the game really matches the style of dialogue. It's all kinda silly but charming. Everything about how structurally impossible these bamboo structures held together by vines is, to how the tribesmen are all hyper-religious and frankly a bit dumb. It's all really whimsical and charming. A lot of the aspects of this game are charming actually. The way that these buildings go up piece by piece with these detailed and intricate structures, each totally unique. While they don't exactly follow the laws of physics, that's really okay. They're still thought out, they have a distinct style and look deceptively buildable. It's all just super cute. I noticed a ton of really well done details in this game, but one that stood out to me is this elevator that you build later in the game. Since it depends on a kind of rotation mechanism, the platform that you stand on has to travel through the ropes in the middle of the machine. So there's a cutout on one side of the platform to let the ropes stay taut as the platform moves into it. It's details like this that make the game so charming. As you build up your city and work your way through the rituals at the altar, which acts as a sort of tech tree letting you unlock new things, your attention is drawn to a plume of lava cutting off the river tribe from the rest of the exile island, and you're tasked with building a bridge to connect the tribes back. The large amount of resources you need to build this bridge clues you into the fact that you should make use of the automation tools in your village to start generating these resources instead of manually collecting them. This bridge is a great marvel of engineering, frankly, considering that it's made of bamboo and leaves. It's a series of platforms held together at the bottom and tied to a kind of anchor, creating a rolled up bridge around your construction platform. When it's completed, you cut the ropes holding the bridge part back and it rolls over the canyon, connecting the two sides. On the other side is the Sandlands, home of the Sand Tribe. There's very little water here, and these tribesmen have not met someone from the outside in a long time. But as you build their village back up, they come to trust you more and allow you to rebuild their altar, granting access to a whole host of new rituals. This is where that marketplace building comes into play, letting you move resources between the territories to make your production more efficient. The amount of resources in each territory is not even, with certain areas having a ton of a certain resource while having none of another type. Finding the best place to place resource generation buildings can drastically speed up your resource collection. This is actually an important plot element. As you complete the rituals in the Sandlands, you see a vision of the Great Boat again and the builder's plans solidify. He's going to build a great ark to take all of the tribesmen away from the doomed island. However, the northern tribe seems to have discovered a special resource: spice. Spiced food, in this game, can survive the arduous journey between territories, so we're headed to the north next. The route to the jungle territory is blocked by a pile of rocks, and so your task is to use the brimstone present in the sandlands to build a large bomb to blow through it. There, another skeptical tribe awaits you. This tribe is even worse off than the sand tribe, as there's no fish or animals to hunt here. Instead, as you reclaim the jungle through building, you're able to set up farms to take advantage of the fertile soil of the area, growing the food the tribe needs there. This is where I get to the second biggest problem with this game. And it's deceptively simple. It's one mechanic. It's getting new workers. You need workers for every single building and every trade route you want to establish, but getting them is not simple. It's not as simple as just building them new houses, though you have to do that too. You must go out and find bands of newly exiled tribesmen cowering near fireplaces and take them in. This mechanic is mind-bendingly boring. You have to find a scout present in each territory, tell him you want new recruits, and he gives you a marker for a new band of them. Then you run out there and tell them, each individually, to join your tribe. I don't like this mechanic at all. They're all so far, you get so few at a time, and it's so dull to just run from place to place in a game with no combat or any sort of threat. You just hold W until you get there, then fast travel back. Because of how many workers you need, you will spend a good amount of your playtime doing this, and it's just terrible. It's so strange to me that they made this choice. I mean, this is a game based around building. Maybe we could instead find trapped or stuck exile tribesmen that we would have to build some structure to rescue, like a smaller version of the mega structures we need to build to connect the territories. Each structure could give you 10 or so tribesmen instead of 3, speeding up this part of the game and making it much less mind-numbing. As you gain the trust of the jungle tribe, the tribe members tell you the tale of the Wave Rider, another person chosen by the gods long before you. She had built a ship as you planned to, and tried to sail the tribes away, only for the wrath of the gods to overwhelm the boat and destroy it, killing most of the tribesmen before washing them back on shore. The jungle tribe has renewed hope now, it appears, as our builder has proven to be a much more skilled builder than the Wave Rider, and they once again are hopeful that they can escape the island. However, you must first find the Wave Rider, held prisoner by the volcanic tribe as they see her as a traitor to the exiled tribes once her plan failed. Once again, you must now build the altar back up and progress through the ritual tree, giving you access to the tribe's coveted spices. With this discovery, you can construct a giant elevator needed to get to the volcanic plateau, and you can deliver spiced rations to your settlement there to let the tribe work in the hellish conditions. The volcanic tribe here is the absolute worst off, near extinction because of the lack of food here. They're very grateful to you when you prove that you can deliver food from the outside to them. You gain their trust even more when you rebuild their altar and work through their ritual tree like the last time. Only, this time, the last 4 trials have you revisiting each of your villages in each of the 4 tribes, as they require the older ritual materials, a final sort of victory tour through the island. By this time, the final and most significant issue had made itself known to me. Simply, the game loop here leaves much to be desired. The problem is, it's just a bit dull and it doesn't change much throughout the game. It starts out okay, right? You manually collect resources to let you set up your production chains and the buildings you need, but soon, the game divides into 2 sections. You build new buildings and set up new chains, which is largely enjoyable, and you micromanage your existing production chains, and you teleport back and forth just doing rounds of your villages to collect resources that are not a part of a production chain, but are still needed for what you're trying to build. I almost feel like this is a balancing problem. Materials that you need a lot of are too slow to generate, so you have to constantly teleport back and forth between your villages just collecting them. In contrast, other materials, like the ones you need for rituals, have buildings and production chains to automate them, but I never felt the need to use these. You need so few of them that it makes a lot more sense to just collect the materials from your other buildings, and then manually craft them yourself, which involves just staring at a bar fill. In games with similar game loops like Factorio, you need so much of each new resource that your time is better spent building bigger and better production chains. In games where the base is only one part of the game loop, you simply check into the base in between sections of more interesting gameplay, with no need to micromanage a lot. The building system is only meant to complement the rest of the game. Here, there's really nothing else. You simply head straight for the next goal and hope that enough of the resources you need are generated for the next task in the time it takes for you to do that task. If not, you either run around for more tribesmen or manually collect some resources to complement your production chain. It always tends to be better to get more tribesmen for your production, or better altars which provide flat bonuses, or just to wait around rather than make another production building, especially since that building will require more tribesmen and more running around only to be used for 1 or 2 tasks in the game. There's another more basal problem with the game loop. It just never really changes. I think a crucial part of these kinds of games is progression, whether that takes the form of better tools in Minecraft or new movement options. Palworld does this really well. As you develop your base, your tools and weapons get stronger, each step up being a big upgrade, and each step opening up new options for totally new tools and weapons as well. As your pals get better, your game loop changes somewhat, to what mount you use to how strong it is at that task. At the beginning of the game, you do everything super slowly. You have to meticulously make your way around on foot. At the end, you fly around the map on a literal jet dragon and rain missiles down on the earth. In contrast, in Tribe, your tools stay the exact same. You have to run everywhere, and there are no big upgrades that change how anything in your village is done once it's already established. Remember when I said you can build anywhere? That's technically true, but it's kind of misleading, because if you build far away from the altars, which are the only things you can fast travel to, you'll have to add long and dull running sequences between all the fast traveling you have to do. This is especially dull because you have to follow the exact same route between the altar and your village every time. I must have ran from the first altar to my river tribe at least 100 times. Once you've built up the Volcano tribe and completed their rituals, the tribe grows to like you a lot, but this tribe worships the Fire Mountain itself, and the Elder is a true fanatic. While he likes you, he's not willing to free the Wave Rider, even for you. In a bout of divine inspiration, the builder uses the special obsidian present only in the Volcano territory to construct a giant statue to the Fire Mountain, in a cute sequence that makes new use of existing mechanics in the game. With this grand gesture, the Elder is convinced, and he lets you free the Wave Rider to pilot your ship. He also lets any member of the tribe leave with you if they want to, but decides to stay and live out his last days with the Fire Mountain, as is his destiny. With the Wave Rider freed, everything is coming together. She points you to a natural harbor near the crossroads of the territories, where she built her boat long ago, and you set off to construct a brand new, majestic ship with an immense amount of raw resources collected from throughout the game. With that, the tribesmen are gathered from every corner of the island, and the exiled sail for new shores, guided by the Wave Rider and the Builder. You want to know something? This game has its problems, as I've discussed, but I actually had a lot of fun with it. The truth is, it brought out some memories in me. I would have been in elementary school, maybe 12 or so. I think it took me a while to develop a sense of social awareness because I didn't really care what the other kids thought about what I did. I would spend recesses with my friends building these ant cities, as we used to call them, structures made out of leaves and sticks that we put together, bigger and more elaborate the better. We'd spend all recess building these, and then they would get destroyed overnight. All I could think about while playing Tribe is playing around in the dirt like that. It was almost surreal, like I had somehow been transported into what I was imagining when I was doing this. It was honestly a ton of fun. It's just very human, isn't it, to want to build something, to bring something into this world, to leave your mark on the earth. Surely we can all relate to that on some level. Obviously, not everyone's going to have this kind of connection to this game where you literally spent your childhood building the same thing, but doesn't this kind of idea bring out the kid in everybody? After all, who hasn't built pillow forts or snow forts when they were kids? Sometimes you have to let your inner kid take over and just build something. Thanks for watching.